All right, I hereby call this town board meeting of the Orangetown Town Board to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Dennis Troy.
Present.
Councilman Tom Divini.
Here.
Councilman Paul Valentine.
Here.
Councilman Jerry Natari.
Here.
Supervisor Chris Day.
Here. I'd ask that you all please rise, and for the Orangetown Police Honor Guards, please post the colors. Everyone please go ahead and pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right. So we have two items to do here in this courtroom, and then we're going to go conduct the rest of the town board business down away from all the partying that's going to be going on over here. Our first two things to do is to, first we have Chief Kevin Nolte, who served the town of Orangetown for 43 years. We are going to first accept his resignation formally, and there's going to be, we already did present to Chief Nolte yesterday, a certificate of appreciation of distinguished service from the town of Orangetown. But the parade committee is here also. We'd like to give him a token as well. We received a lot of tokens on Monday too. You earned them all. And so after we vote on this, I'm going to ask Chief Nolte to come up. We'll have the parade committee give him his plaque, ask him if he wants to just say a brief commentary, and then we'll move on to the appointment of our new chief. So I hereby move that we accept with regret the resignation and retirement of Chief Kevin Nolte, effective April 30th, 2019, after 43 years of dedicated service to the Orangetown Police Department. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilman Valentine. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chief Nolte. Former Chief Nolte, would you please come to the podium, and the representatives in the parade committee can also come up to the podium.
On behalf of the Rockland County Men and Ladies AOH Parade Committee, we express our sincere thanks and gratitude to Orangetown Police Chief Kevin Nolte for your years of dedication and support of the Rockland St. Patrick's Day Parade. Congratulations and best wishes. Presented on this day, April 30th, 2019. John McGowan, Rockland County AOH President, Lillian Murphy, LAOH County President, and William Lee, Parade Chairperson.
There's two things. It was always my honor to lead the Grand Marshal. We did it for 23 years. And I just want to say congratulations to soon-to-be Chief Don Butterworth. Well deserved.
Was there anything you'd like to add with regards to Chief Nolte?
Just quick. It's been an honor being on the town board while you've been the chief of police. Orangetown Police Department is an example for the entire community and region. And that's due to the men and women of the force as well as the administration. So thank you for all you've done.
I want to thank Chief Nolte for for his 43 years of dedicated service to the town of Orangetown. We've had, through the years, I've been on the board now for 20 years, and it's been my privilege to work with the chief. I didn't necessarily agree all the time, but that's the way business is here in the political world. And it's a thing to put in 43 years in the same department, 23 years as the chief, is a great achievement. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Dennis.
Chief, 43 years, a long time. Enjoy your retirement, you earned it.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Good luck, Kevin. It's
You'll get
no longer
that,
chief.
I'll miss you.
I did have comments at the chief's farewell. They were a little longer, but not too long, I don't think. But I've only worked with the chief for about a year and a half, but having someone so experienced when I came in was really key, and knowing that the department was in good hands. And I know it's going to continue to be in good hands, but it was good to have known you in a professional capacity. I look forward to continue to know you personally. And again, 43 years, you got to invert those numbers to be my age, so I'm pretty impressed by that. It's pretty good. So it's a generational shift. Again, as Chief mentioned, he was on duty when the Brinks robbery happened. The last officer in Rockland County had been on duty and was active as of yesterday. So it's truly generational shift, and we look forward to the future. Thank him for his service over these many years. All right, so moving on to the next step. We're going to vote on the resolution appointing our new chief, and then we'll have the official swearing in, followed by remarks by then-to-be chief. So I'm going to move that we appoint Captain Donald Butterworth, Chief of Police, effective May 1st, 2019, as a salary consistent with the agreement with the town board. Is there a second?
I'll second
We're going to take a second, unanimous second by all members. All in favor?
Aye.
Would Captain Butterworth or about to be Chief Butterworth please step forward with the family, and also Town Clerk Sprague for the swearing in?
I, Donald Butterworth,
I, Donald Butterworth,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of Police Chief
the duties of the office of Police Chief
in the town of Orangetown,
in the town of Orangetown,
county of Rockland,
county of Rockland,
state of New York,
state of New York,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God. Count.
You got a lot of stuff you can do.
Sorry.
Or you're in charge now, you don't have to go.
Julie, I'll be back.
Good evening, and thank you everyone for coming tonight to share in this ceremony. First, I would like to thank Supervisor Day and Councilman Troy, Batari, Divany, and Valentine for the confidence they have shown in me to lead the exceptional men and women of the Orangetown Police Department. Additionally, thank you to Chief Nolte and Captain Brown and all of the active and retired officers that I've worked with and for over the course of my career in Orangetown and the New York City Police Department. And I also have to thank all the outside law enforcement agencies and government officials that are here as well tonight. Thank you. I appreciate that the members of the Rockland County Police Chiefs Association came tonight as well. And I also must thank my friends who are here tonight. Thank you for coming. And my family, all of my brothers and sisters-in-law that are here, my nieces and nephews, my mother and father-in-law, Margaret and Joe, and my brothers and sister, not all of the brothers are here, but Michael and Patty, thank you for coming. And also my mom who's in Florida tonight, and she's probably saying a couple rosaries as we're sitting here, and I'm hoping she doesn't call me while I'm standing here, but she's waiting for me to give her a call. And of course my dad, who we unfortunately lost several years ago. He served for 30 years in the New York City Police Department, and I'm sure he really would have enjoyed tonight. Most importantly, I thank my 4 children, Matt and Julia, and Don and Thomas, who couldn't be here tonight because they're in school, and hopefully they're studying tonight, I would hope. And of course, my wonderful wife, Joan, who has always given me tremendous support and encouragement, and I would not be standing here tonight without everything each of them have done for me to help me along the way. Thank you. The main message that I want to express to the community is that no matter how long I occupy this post, I will work together with the dedicated men and women of the department and to better serve the people of the town of Orangetown. It is truly a great community, and we have a tremendous group of well-trained sworn officers, and I thank you all for coming tonight as well. We have great dispatchers and our administrative professionals and record staff, and our civilian employees in our auxiliary police department. We all work well together with all of the other town departments and volunteer emergency services in this town to provide the town residents, businesses, and visitors exceptional service. This is truly a great police department, and I hope to continue in the great traditions that Chief Nolte had set for us. Once again, I wish Chief Nolte and Ann a happy and long and healthy retirement, and I thank the town board and everybody for being here to be part of this ceremony. Thank you very much.
Dismiss the colors. We'll be taking a brief recess and we'll be relocating the meeting to the other meeting room. Party's again going to stay here. I just want to recognize some of the other police leadership and a couple elected officials that are here. If I missed anyone, because I'm trying to do with Dennis's help from up here, but just raise your hand. And, yeah. We have Clarkstown Chief McCullough, South Nyack Chief Wilson, Chief O'Shea of Piermont, Under Sheriffs Ventura and Barbera, Sheriff Falco, and Mayor Hammond. Is there anyone I missed in terms of leadership, like chiefs? Is staying behind someone or current elected official? Okay, good. I just want to thank you all for coming. I'm going to go ahead and move that we take a 5-minute recess to go forward. Is there a second? All right, all in favor? Aye. Everyone please rise. Tell people sorry for coming. Thank you. That concludes the ceremony.
You gotta leave. Please sit down.
I know. Telling you the question.
We're on TV now. You can sit down, please. Congratulations. Please sit down.
Jerry, where are you? Here.
All right. In anticipation of Councilman Batari arriving, we're going to get going. For those of you joining us partway through on YouTube and on Cablevision, the 7 of you, we were at the swearing in for our it's 8 tonight because of the chief, but the new Chief Butterworth was sworn in at the other courtroom. There he is. So we already are in progress. We're just coming out of our recess now and going into announcements. So for those on the record again, we thank Chief Nolte for his service and congratulate Chief Butterworth on his appointment. So a few announcements. Orangetown is now doing the Military Tribute Banner Program. You are able to buy banners to honor a veteran who has a connection to Orangetown. There's display areas that include Orangeburg Road in Orangeburg, Sparkill Depot Square in downtown Pearl River. These can be ordered on militarytributebanners.org and search for Orangetown. You can find the link on our website. If you want any more details, please email supervisor@orangetown.com. There's a $150 initial fee to do it, and then we'll be putting it up from Memorial Day to Veterans Day each year in order to honor our veterans. It's something that's been successful in other areas, and we look forward to it being successful here. So please get those orders in. Coming up is the 23rd annual open house for our highway department. That's going to be on Saturday, May 19th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon at our highway department over in Route 303, 119 Route 303 in Orangeburg. It's always a great event for the kids. There's booths with different activities. The vehicles are all there to be climbed upon. So bring the kids and enjoy. We also have now a new Recycle Coach app brought to you by the Rockland County Solid Waste Management Authority, available on the homepage of the Orangetown website. It gives you a push alert to remind you for your recycling pickups, and it's free. It allows you to customize your schedule, and you can get important other recycling information. You know, a lot of people think they know it's simple, you know, paper and blue, metal and glass and plastic in the green, but there's some other rules in there. Like, you're not supposed to put greasy boxes in the recycling. You're not supposed to put plastic bags in. There's some other rules just to be aware of. So it's a free app you can get from the website, downloadable to your phone. Then we also have coming up a public meeting regarding the West Washington Bridge replacement in Pearl River. That will take place in the conference multipurpose room in the basement of Town Hall on Wednesday, May 29th at 7:30 p.m. The county is looking to replace that bridge. We're going to be having a public meeting on it, or they will be holding a public meeting on it for people who want more information. It's definitely something a long time coming. Also, I'm going to be reading some brief updates related to ALOOF. We issued an ALOOF update this afternoon. So this obviously is an ongoing issue. As a result of continued violations, the town has issued 7 new sets of violations against the company. That's a total of 42 separate instruments that will be going to court for violations of our odor code. Their court appearance for the other 42 that were issued in December of 2018 is scheduled for May 28th at the Orangetown Justice Court. Exact time will be available in the future. The building department director's application to the ZBA to declare them in violation of the performance standards was originally supposed to be held on April 3rd, but was postponed because the ZBA wanted to wait for additional information from ALOOF that was being sent to the DEC. Per the DEC, they're expecting ALOOF's response by May 10th. We are hopeful that the ZBA will take up the issue at their next regularly scheduled meeting, which can be sufficiently legally noticed in time, of course, or at a special meeting in that approximate time frame. At that meeting, the ZBA will determine, based on the town's independent engineer report and testimony of our building department director, Jane Slavin, whether ALOOF is formally in violation of its performance standards. If they do make that determination, it will allow the building department to initiate the processes to cease operations on the portions of their production that are covered by the current ZBA review. The DEC, meanwhile, is engaged in a mediation process with ALOOF with regards to fixing the issues that have caused them to demand either the installation of air scrubbers or discontinuance of fragrances. Though these processes are complementary, the town's process does not depend on the DEC's or vice versa. Orangetown's building inspectors and code enforcement officials continue to issue violations based upon the personal observation of a violation. They can also issue violations based upon neighbor observations if they're appropriately documented. So basically, if you are smelling something, you can go on our website, use the form to report it, but then you can also go into the building department and swear an affidavit that says, I really honestly and truly did see this, and this was what I saw at this time, and that could be used to issue a violation to whatever the source of the odor is, whether it's ALOOF or otherwise. In regard to how the odors are observed, there have been some questions regarding the olfactometers and their use. The olfactometers are a tool in the toolkit of our code enforcers, much like a decibel meter is a tool that we have for the noise ordinance, or a, what's it called, the breathalyzer is a tool for the police when they deal with the DUI. They're not always appropriate in all situations. The area and the environment around ALOOF is heavy winds. It's not the type of place where they function as well as more of a staid, settled setting, sort of around where the sewer plants are, where it's low ground, stable air. They work better. The code provides, just like it provides for the sound code, for a noise ordinance, just like it provides for with the DUI, based on the observations of the officer, to issue violations based on just, it's obvious it stinks, or it's obvious that man was drunk, or it's obvious that the noise from that bar is too loud. And that is the part of the code we're using. So though the off-peak timers will be used when able to in certain situations, they just don't work in this particular situation. So anyone who's ever had questions about that, that explains that for you there. Moving on from announcements, we are going to be workshopping our agenda items next, and then we'll be having a public hearing regarding public comment and then public hearing, depending on the time, probably public hearing, on a zone change. So, gentlemen, we're going to go through. So first will be that public hearing regarding the Route 303 zone change, and then that's going to end up have to be continued due to some missing information we'll need to a further date. Then after that, we have a public hearing on the minor edits to our town code for filming, and that'll be followed by adoption of that law, assuming everyone's okay with it. And once we adopt the law, on number 12, page 5, is the new schedule for fees. If you want to take a look, I'll just explain it briefly. If there's any questions, we'll go through it now. But basically, the fees are very similar to what they were in the law previously, but they were set in the code as opposed to being able to be changed by resolution simply, which we've been doing a lot, as you know, for the last year and a half of trying to pull details like that out of the code so they're easier to be changed. We're also adapting so that there's a little more flexibility with the very small shoots and very self-contained shoots. So like a student film or a TV commercial or even a short for a Facebook ad that's filming somewhere and doesn't have as big of a footprint, they can't afford the fees that we have, but they don't have anywhere near the impact of a true movie shoot. So this gives basically, using best practices from Westchester, a staged crew member size based fee, so that if you only have a couple people, it's only $200 per day per location, $50 an hour after filming hours, plus obviously police fees if you need them, whatever. 11 to 20, it's a little more, 20 to 50, a little more, and then 50 plus, you go to the standard fees. It also adds a fee for helicopter usage, because we clarified that in the code that we will have voted on. And it also changes, the IRG campus is basically self-contained shooting all the time. So just because of the sheer quantity they have, in order to facilitate that, we're changing it so that they have a flat rate. It's a very unique place. It's essentially a movie studio, what they're using. So it makes sense to be able to process the volume, to have them just have a flat, easier process. And base camp, to clarify, that's when someone in a movie shoot is using Orangetown property to store stuff, but isn't, I say property within the town of Orangetown, not Orangetown-owned property, but isn't filming in Orangetown. So let's say they wanted to store stuff at the car dealership on Route 303, and they're filming over across the border in West Nyack, from Blowout to West Nyack, it would be $300 a day for that location. And all these fees are per day per location. So any other questions on the proposed fee schedule for the filming in town? Okay, cool. 13, some background to this. We're looking to set a public hearing to adopt a law for the town code to basically actually have single file bike riding in town. Apparently that's not been on the books. It's on the books in all of our villages. This came up at a meeting between me and the village mayors. We wanted to try to do a joint Orangetown PD, Piermont PD, and South Nyack Grandview PD bicycle enforcement week going to the late spring. But there isn't anything for our PD to enforce because they could ride 4 abreast if they feel like it on our roads. So essentially the code change that's proposed, which we'll be setting the public hearing for, is to adopt word for word the Piermont's code, which just requires that bikers, unless it's unsafe, to ride single file on the right side of the street, and also skaters. That way it's uniform throughout the whole area. That'll really help the eastern part of town, I think, especially Spark Hill and Route 340.
You'll see them on Sickletown Road.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
5 deep.
And basically, once this is done, we'll be able to post signage, and people will respond and act accordingly based on what they see. Because when they go into Piermont, when they first start off, they tend to be in a big phalanx, or what do they call them, peloton. And then they see the signs, and they go to single file. If we have it posted, they'll do the same thing. They come into Orangetown. So we're setting the public hearing for that, which will be scheduled for May 21st. Mm-hmm. And then following that, to set another public hearing, the idea for this law, there's a couple of municipalities in Westchester, and this was something that a resident brought up to me and to my office as a suggestion. Basically, the law is, to summarize, if you want to get a building permit in the town to do an expansion, as opposed to correct a fire safety issue or a code violation, you would, if you're not current on your taxes to the town, let's say you're a scofflaw, you're not paying your property taxes, but you want to build a new wing to your house or whatever, you won't be able to get that building permit until you pay or at least get on a schedule of payments for your taxes, so that people can't use us as a bank and loan out the money and to choose to just not pay their responsibilities, but say put in higher density housing or put in a new wing to a business without having been current on their taxes. This would link those two things, except for, maintenance issues where you have to get a building permit to deal with a code violation or to fix an emergency exit or something like that.
Chris, does this, how does it deal with, after a certain period of time of being delinquent, it gets reassessed up into the county?
Yes.
And then it's not due us anymore, like, so, I mean, we're made whole by the county of Rockland.
Right.
After a certain period of time. Well, I guess we'll go over it more, it's just a question, there's a
Yeah,
certain.
We have to consider that in the
Right,
phrase
we
of it.
haven't addressed it yet.
No,
I
that
know
part hasn't been written yet.
Village of
essentially, yeah.
Elmsford has this in their code, and it's really, it's the tax, but it also goes to violations and things of that nature.
Oh, no,
So,
it's just,
Yeah, any unpaid fees as well, unpaid violations.
just
that's
so everyone
something we'll
knows,
address.
after a certain period of time of owing the town taxes, it gets re-levied into the county, and the county makes the town whole,
Right.
and then the county goes after the tax, so it's really not
My
owed
thought-
to the town anymore.
It's not
owed to the-
technically owed to the town. My thought process with that, and we can, again, it's not fully, we're
No,
not,
I
this is
like,
not till
I
June
love
18th.
the
I think
idea,
we
it's
should
just, we've got to
account for
address that
I
issue.
think accounting for that, where if we account for them being on a payment plan with the county versus not paying the county at all, I think it's a principle
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
that's-
that's probably the right way to write it, right?
That is,
Yeah.
because the county will set up, most of the time, they'll set up
Yeah,
a
schedule.
gradual schedule and make it so that you're, because after a certain period of time, they can come after the house for the non-payment of taxes.
And the other thing that Rob mentioned, this is also violation fees and stuff like that. So let's say in the case of a company that got a violation issued and they didn't pay their fine, they can't then expand their production without paying
I like
that
that.
fine.
I like that.
So it's taxes and fees and fines. It's really just another way to sort of preserve Orangetown and,
like it.
again, this is a resident idea, so we're just trying to.
I mean, if you're doing an addition, you obviously have the money to pay the taxes.
Exactly, that's the main point. So we'll be setting the public hearing on that for June 18th, and that'll be circulated appropriately. By the way, I don't see any we don't have a circulation language for these things, or is it?
On that one, no, not yet. We can put that on the next one.
That can wait till the next one. What about the skating and bicycling? I don't see one for that, but that can't wait, can it? The circulation,
Well,
because it's set for May 21st.
right, it doesn't have to be the 30 days because it's not a zone issue. We are going to send that to,
So we can do it next week?
New York State DOT, yes, and County Highway, every, entity
Yeah,
that basically
roads.
has roads in the town.
So we can do that at May 7th meeting
Yeah.
then? Okay, so we'll circulate a May 7th meeting for both of those. All right, then we have appointment of Margaret Kerwin to fill the unexpired term for Roger Pellegrini, who passed sadly.
Someone's got to tell Peggy she's got to get to the class, or she's not going to be able to participate in the Board of Assessment Review because it starts very soon, and she's got to get certified. She's got to take a couple of classes, or at least one class, to be able to participate in those hearings.
Okay. Is that I'm not familiar with the classes, but you can catch her
We
up
had
on that,
issues
Brian?
with a former member who didn't take it, and therefore they can't
They couldn't
vote
do
on.
it.
So we gotta notify them.
We'll make sure that gets to her. Then appointing Beth Cahill on recommendation from the Board of Ethics to fill the seat for Board of Ethics for Dr. Margaret Mary Fitzpatrick. Then 17, we've done a lot of work to get this set up. Every Sunday in downtown Pearl River, what's the street it's going to be on now? Is it bounced? William Street. We're going to be able to have a farmer's market that we are not going to have to organize. We're basically hiring someone at, we'll be paying, I think, $1,000 or $2,000 towards some advertising, but she gets paid by hiring the vendors, and we're hiring her to run a farmer's market for Pearl River. On the street, yeah. So it's one block.
It would be
between
from Central and Washington.
Washington,
So, what, Joyce Realty, basically?
right by Joyce Realty. Right near Joyce Realty, essentially.
The Chambers have been involved. This is something they.
The Chamber's
requested.
co-sponsoring it. We're the ones that are actually hiring the person that's going to run it, so it's under our umbrella. And every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. from May 19th to November 24th. And it's going to be advertised in Jersey because Jersey has a lot of stuff closed down. And the idea is to bring people into Pearl River on a day where they might not otherwise come. for a special event. And this could be something, if it goes well, and she's run this sort of thing in many, many other municipalities. The problem most municipalities and groups run into with these is when they try to do it themselves and try to hire the individual people for each booth. It's a very difficult thing to do if you don't know the connections, but we're just hiring the one person to do it. So, any questions on the farmer's market?
Nope.
Then we have approving high school project graduation funding. And this, for these ones, just stop me if you have any questions. Appointing a firefighter for the volunteer firefighter company in Blauvelt. Approving a claim settlement for Marie Lucas for $5,000. Approving certificates of sewer registration.
Damage from a town drain pipe, not
Yeah,
sewer
damage
damage.
from town drain, downtown drain pipe. It does say that in the resolution, in the headline as well. She didn't damage it and then didn't get money for it, right? 22 is not actually, though the headline says an infant, that's a legal term. It's a kid who is a teenager, actually. Yeah, so someone under 18, based on the claim. So another settlement for $25,000. Then accepting the resignation of police officer Ryan Arend. He's actually not going far, he's going to South Nyack. Then declaring surplus equipment vehicles. Approve local fire department's use of message board for recruitment program.
Looking for Dan Wilson.
Approve and adopt a spot agreement for 2 Sickletown Road and Pearl River.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Approve the Grand Fondo 2019 for assistance. One thing I'll just note with this is that I met with the Grand Fondo folks several months ago, and they were happy, actually. I was surprised. I'd have to convince them they're going to be running the race up the rest of, down when they come back, and they usually tend to go by Orangeburg Road and Road 303 and cause the one traffic jam this causes. They're going to be on the rail trail the whole way, so they're not going to cause that traffic jam anymore. And they go up, as we know, up 9W and Palisades Parkway. Next is the ACS, American Cancer Society Relay for Life. That is on June 8th from 2 p.m. to 12 a.m. is when it's listed. I guess it goes to midnight, right? In Central Avenue Field. Then awarding contract for asbestos abatement. Those buildings that are abandoned at the edge of Chief Bill Harris Way, we've got to get them down. The first step, unfortunately, they have asbestos, so we have to pay for asbestos abatement to do it. $23,900. It's a contract-based one. We don't have to bid it. Then grant permission to attend a wastewater grade 4 management course for Vinnie Matthew. Award bid for environmental construction, Inc. for Brookside sanitary sewer improvements in South Nyack, $250,000. Pay vouchers, and then adjournment. Any questions about anything we've discussed thus far, gentlemen?
No.
Okay. Let's see what we have. Okay.
Time you got to start the hearing.
We'll do the hearing here. It looks like we don't have anyone signed in for the public hearings, so we'll get them out of the way first. If the folks from the requested zone change for Route 303.
I gotta recuse myself, right, Rob?
Yes,
So we can
Councilman
explain
Valentine's
why?
recusing himself because his property is affected. Yes, sorry. So I hereby move that we open the public hearing with respect to the proposed zone change. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, good. And
Just first, the record should reflect that
yes,
Councilman
I'm
Valentine
sorry,
is...
I'm using my script. Hold
Yeah.
on. First, Councilman Valentine is officially recusing himself and saying goodbye for the moment, leaving the room and everything. Then, if the town clerk, do we have the affidavit of publication and any other submissions in writing that you can share?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Has there been any comments delivered in writing on this?
We have, letter from the Rockland County Planning, dated April 18th, and we also have from the Orangetown Planning Board on April 24th.
Okay. We have, that's in the backup, right?
Yeah.
I think, was there a memo from Jane Slavin also? I don't know if you got that.
Jane, did you
It's
submit a memo?
attached to the planning memo.
Okay,
Okay.
it's attached to the planning board one. Okay.
And just to be clear, on the publication, I think you mentioned about the Journal News, you had that?
Journal News, on April 16th, and also the affidavit of posting the property zone change on April 30th. Those we have.
Okay, good. So, Again, this is a proposed zone change for the section of Route 303, kind of running slightly south from Erie. It's going to, was it CC or CS? I always forgot. Trying to switch from CC from LO. It's a petition, so I'll ask Mr. Phillips to go ahead and take it away for his comments.
Frank Phillips from the law offices of Phillips and Millman, 148, excuse me, 148 South Liberty Drive, Stony Point, New York, on behalf of the applicant, who's Gerard Bieber and his wife, Rissay, K&P Paving, Ramsey Realty Corp., Joseph Menchik, and Judith Menchik. Basically, and also present with me is John Atzel from the engineering firm of Atzel, Nasher, and Ziegler. As I presented to the board last time, that we are looking to have a zone change here because the LO in this particular area, the particular corridor at 303, is not compatible with the overlay redevelopment in that particular area, 303. It doesn't meet, it's non-conforming, and if you looked at it, and I did receive the memorandum from the Rockland County Department of Planning, where they indicated that they received documentation which didn't show all the lots, because if you recall, last time we were here at the board meeting, when we were just reviewing this application, there was a suggestion that we add 3 more lots, which we did add, one of which was a church, which wasn't on the tax rolls, which we did send out notifications to all those that we're looking to encompass here, which was originally 4 lots, but then it expanded to 8 after being before this board. We didn't get any feedback from them, so we did include the church property, or the alleged church property, and then we also included 2 lots that were to the south of the K&P paving. So basically, what it encompasses is 8 lots.
Can you clarify, you used 2 phrases that I'm a little concerned about, alleged lot and with the church.
Well, I
What's
went
the
to
deal
the
with
church
that?
a few times, and I didn't, it's down as a church, but I don't, my question is whether it is or not. I don't, So,
Good to know.
I walked up and down that corridor to speak to the various property owners. I decided to go by foot. We sent out certified mailings to each of them, and we were able to get basically along that corridor the petition signed by the Bieber, who's my client, Menchik, Ramsey Realty Corporation, and also K&P Paving. The church we were able to get, and then the 2 properties to the south that the board requested that we add, I did send out certified letters, but they hadn't responded to us. But basically, we are in receipt of the letter from the Department of Planning, and it seems as though that they received the petition prior to our amendment, because initially we submitted a petition. Then on March 18th, we amended that petition to add in some lots, and it seems as though the documentation that they were provided didn't add in the extra lots, which would have been the church and lots 20, which is the lot 18 and lots 20 and 21. So we'll resubmit it again. We have, if they get the amended petition, then they would have all the documentation that's necessary, because it seemed, and then the other issue that came up is that when we added the 2 lots to the south, we came within 500 feet of Spruce Street. So now they also have to notify the Rockland County Department of Highways. So some documentation that's missing was necessitated by the fact that we added those additional lots subsequent to our meeting with this board. And then I also did receive this morning documentation from the planning board, and attaching thereto the memorandum from Director Slavin, which I went over also. And some of the excerpts that were taken from the comprehensive plan in 2003 are accurate, as they're quoted there, relating to the traffic, being aware of excessive strip malls, which we're not looking to propose here on Route 303, traffic, and so on. However, subsequent to the comprehensive plan being adopted in 2003, there was a December 2011, which I have marked draft on here, which I printed off the town website, which went into some specific detail and updating the study. And looking at that particular update, which is 2011, not back 16 years ago in 2003, they did break down 303, since it's such a long corridor, into certain, into sub-corridors, which went corridors A through E. So with our particular, the lots that are the subject of this zone change is corridor D, which, if you look at the overhead here of that corridor, that the lots that we're looking to change are in conformity with the other lots that's surrounding it, which are zone CC, CS, and also CC across the street. There are some lots that are appropriate for the LO district, which are south of the lots here, and we're not saying to change that zone. So what the board did, and which was right, is to say bring it down to right across from, I guess, maybe it's Spruce Street or something like that, and make it the last lot right where Spruce Street is, across the street on Route 303, which is understandable because everything south of there is LO, which would be conforming. But everything above there is non-conforming. And then if you even look at this update where they have the, and I just looked at this for the first time tonight, is the actual uses, the two uses here, one of which is our client, is Mr. Bieber's, is like on an island. Everything around it is commercial and a few office buildings, but the only yellow, which is a residential use, is here. So we'll address all the issues and provide whatever is missing to the county and other information to the director and the planning board to address the issues in this memorandum. If the board's looking at extending the the public hearing, continuing the public hearing until May 21st. So those things we have to address, but just preliminarily, I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention. And if you have any questions for Mr. Atzel, he'd be more than happy to answer them. And we did, in response to the request from the board, provide a site plan for at least Mr. Bieber's lot, correct?
Yes, well, actually, that was presented earlier, much earlier.
Yeah, I
We
just
can provide
didn't have a
additional
digital
copies
copy, yeah.
May I just be heard on this real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Just, my recommendation, Frank, would be, you know, we got like 3 different petitions and different changes, and that's, you know, I think if you submitted a narrative explaining kind of everything you just did and maybe breaking it out and going by lot numbers, I think it'll be a little easier for
Yes.
everybody to follow. So, you know, and I don't know that you addressed 13. The line does appear to go straight through 13. What's the plan on 13?
13 will be included in the zone change.
The
It will-
entirety of
that-
13?
Yes, the southern half, because the zone line does bisect 13.
The zone line currently bisects those things, is what you're
Yes,
saying.
currently bisects 13.
Right, but you're saying you would,
It would just be the bisecting point.
so it would continue to bisect it. Why, I guess the question is why?
No, the southern portion of 13 would also be part of the zone change.
So you're adding it back in.
That way, it would
Got it.
13 would be entirely within the CC zone.
That's why they're narrow.
Okay, so
I think what I'm sorry to interrupt you, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, so I think, again, given the fact that, like I said, we got 3 different petitions and there were different property owner names listed, I think it'd be helpful if you kind of, after tonight, wrapped it all up, you know, major points in response to this. I think it'd be a little easier to follow.
That makes
for
sense.
everybody.
I guess.
Absolutely, I
One of the
agree.
questions I have is, we've entertained these petitions before. Usually, I want to know, have you talked to potential tenants? What are you looking to do at the lot? Because we're usually trying to rectify a situation to make it more in conformance and with that area. So have you talked to potential tenants? What are you going to do with the property if you get the zone change, or you haven't got that far?
Well, we've developed a concept plan that shows a commercial building, 7,500 square feet, that conforms to the 303 overlay zoning requirements. The building fronts on 303. There's landscaping along Route 303, and the parking is in the rear of the building, and it doesn't require any variances if the zone is changed to CC. That's for this parcel. As far as the
Yeah,
other
yeah, well,
parcels, we
that's-
don't know.
And some of the other parcels in that particular area are currently being used as a prior non-conforming use for commercial, and there's one that's also a mixed use on that particular, in that particular area.
One thing that I'll add, just generally on the topic of the LO-LIO zone, is the 2 zones. We've gotten multiple, and this may be something where we consider looking at the zone, I think I talked to a couple of the board members about it. Looking at the uses in that zone that's permitted, because right now it's pretty much just laboratory space and office space. And office space is completely, like, there is no market for office space now, period, in the Northeast. Like, it's bad. So maybe taking a look holistically as a town, aside from this, we could treat this in its own merits, but as to what more current modern uses would make sense that currently aren't in there to allow people to get the value for their land that they can't anymore based on what the changing markets, like a self-storage being permitted, is it's a less impactful use. Looking at where the things are, it's something I think it makes sense to look at along with Jane and trying to figure out if it's something we want to look at doing. It sort of sits on the same general topic of it being that zone and trying to change it. Any other questions for applicant? Okay, so since there's no one signed in for, yeah.
Can I speak?
I'm sorry, no one, you came in late, I didn't realize you were here for this, yeah. So if you're done, you guys can sit down, and we have.
Oh, sure.
Yes, Jane, you want to add something? Guys, we'll go with Jane first, then we'll go with Mr. McLaughlin, sorry.
Excuse me.
And we're not voting today, just to clarify, 'cause I think you walked in after I said that.
Okay, in reference to the draft amendment, I do not believe the amendment was adopted, so I did not address it. So I think we have to talk about that legally, and there was a letter that followed that a year later that again stressed the no strip centers along that area, the traffic impact, and how the CS zone should actually be reduced in size, where this would expand it, even though the applicant is asking for a CC zone. That in our code then refers to all the uses permitted in the CS. So when looking at the zoning charts, it's not just CC. You have to look at both of the CC and the CS. So it opens up a lot more possibilities as far as what could be developed there.
What's the primary uses, what's the primary difference between the CC and the CS for the record?
The CS has a lot
Is it
more.
lot size?
It's lot size, and the uses that are permitted become much greater.
On the CS?
Yes, so CC says same as CS. Trade schools, telephone exchanges, which obviously is a little outdated, but.
We're talking about updating the code. isn't it?
Yes, and theaters except drive-ins, but then when you go to CS, the list goes on. So what I did is, instead of horizontal, our zoning code reads horizontal, but if you do it vertical, the pink is only the things that are allowed within all three zones. So you see it's very limited as you go across the field. When you get to the CS, it opens up a lot more.
Yeah, could you send a copy of that over?
Yes, absolutely.
It's hard- it's on my hand.
The other thing that was very confusing, and I understand if things are changed multiple times, it becomes hard to track all the changes. I would ask that the applicant provide a drawing of the actual meets and bounds, because I took the meets and bounds description that they submitted, and I drew it out, and it doesn't match what they're describing in other areas, which I brought up in my comments. So I think the board needs to actually see the meets and bounds drawn on a map to understand what's going on.
Okay,
Is they don't match, so that would need to be clarified.
you guys got that?
Good, that's all I have.
Cool. Any questions for Jane before she steps down? We have it scheduled for, we're going to take your comment, John, sorry, but we are planning on adjourning it to the 21st. But so, Jane, you're good?
I'm good.
And we have one member of the public go up, and it's 5 minutes for a public hearing. I don't feel like changing the thing on there, so I'm going to do it on my cell phone.
Okay,
Go
I just
ahead.
I have questions, but thanks to Mr. Phillips for sending the question. Who gave you permission to want to change the zoning on my property? My property. On EJKB, it's parcel 20. It's one of the two southern properties you described.
Oh, okay. When we came here, you weren't initially included in that zone change.
Right.
So then when we came here, they asked me to reach out to the people that were south of there, so I sent out certified letters to you. And then there was a response, but I was asked to include it within that.
Who asked you? I didn't ask you. I own the property. I paid the taxes.
I get it.
You got, okay. You also sent me a letter saying it would enhance the value of my property.
Well, I said that
Hold on, we're gonna.
I'm just gonna ask.
No,
a
I
question.
get it. So if you could go through the questions and then we'll
My
have him
question
address
is-
them. That's just the general format. I get what you're doing here, but
All right, all right.
list the questions and then he'll list his responses.
You can imagine as a.
I get the frustration, but
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Supervisor.
yeah, just go ahead with them.
All right, my
List them out,
questions-
and then we'll get back to Mr.
All right,
Phillips.
my question, first of all, I will just want to let you know, my wife and I own the property, it's our business, and it's a professional office, we have tenants, and, you know, we've improved the property, and we keep it, I think, nicely. I mean, Supervisor Kleiner was there when we had it, and at one point, he showed me how the highway's going to expand, so make sure, at some point, 303 will widen, so when we improve the driveways, it was okay. But Mr. Phillips's letter says it would enhance the value of the property. As far as I know, unless somebody comes and offers me some price for it, as you said, there's no market for it, unless I hear somebody saying that they want to pay for it, that's fine. I also want to know if there's a developer, because they want to take all these strips. Is there some developer who's financing the lawyer who wants to do this? Because it seems backwards. Normally, you come, you get the properties, and then you do a zone change. You don't zone change on people who own the property, because my other question would be, I can do certain things there by right. I can improve the driveway, I can, you know, there's certain things I was allowed to do by right. If there's a zone change, do I have to come before the ZBA and get a variance? Because it's not a shopping center, it's not a commercial property. So, you know, and with that, is there a whole nother set of regulations and rules that would govern a shopping center that, because I have a professional office there now. So would things be different? Because the vet next to me is a very nice guy. Mr. Kleber owns the property next to me. He's fixed up his property. But there's certain rules about what they could do and what they can't do. So if this is governed by a different set of rules that they can then move things closer to my property, or because the guy next door has a paving business and he's had to put up a fence between my property and his, but you know, I just want to know if there's different set of rules, because right now, I have a lot of skepticism about whether this enhances my property, as it said in the letter. And right now, I'd be opposed to it, because I don't see any benefit to it, and I could see some ways that it could cost me more money. Plus, if he says it enhances my value and the assessment goes up, when I'm going to be penalized for it, because that's not the use, it's a professional office. So, so those are my comments. And have you set when the next public hearing is?
It's going to be on the 21st. It'll be
You know what, I
continued
would
to-
suggest we put it out, because that's
Little
only.
longer?
Yeah, because that doesn't give us enough time to recirculate it.
Okay, so you want to do it on the?
I mean, the next is the 4th, but I don't know if you'll get that information to us in time to circulate the 18th, maybe, of June. I mean, I hate to put it out so far, but
Do you
by the
think
time
you-
we get the information from you and circulate it,
Do you think you can do June? Which one in June do you think you could make? The 1st or the 18th?
well, 4th or 18th.
4th or 18th?
Well, we need the 30. We want to circulate it to county planning again. Yeah, I think the 18th makes sense.
It's better than doing multiple appearances. Okay, so it'll be June 18th, so we'll be rescheduling.
June 18th?
And I'll be able to address some of your questions before we ask Mr. Phillips too, but
Okay.
is that all of them? Are you good?
That's all the questions I have right now.
Great, thanks, John.
All right, thank you. So, but it'll be the town board that gives me answers? to
Some
those
of the answers
questions?
will come from me, then I'll ask him to answer the rest,
Okay.
because some of the stuff we could address. Some, he may
Okay.
not have all the answers, but, all right, so you're good,
Okay.
and then, so that concludes your remarks?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Supervisor. Thank
So-
you, gentlemen.
Is there anyone else on this topic? Okay, good. Before, he may have to get back up, so let me just, yeah. So, just to go through how this happened for your property, or generally, the applicant came in and they were really more concerned about their own property and being able to do different things with it. The problem is you can't really just rezone one property, it's a spot zone, or more potential for a spot zone. So they went around and tried to see who else would want to join in on that. And would they also want to see so it is in the end a higher use zone, you get more uses out of it. Jane, if you please stop it, I'm pretty sure there's nothing that's currently allowed that wouldn't be allowed by right in the CS zone, right? Except laboratories, maybe? I mean, is there anything currently in their current zone that wouldn't be permitted?
Well, the office space is
Office
permitted
space is
in
permitted.
all of them, correct.
Your office space is permitted by right in all of them, there's no need for variances.
I guess
That's
the other
correct.
question is, are there different setbacks and different parking requirements?
Yes, the CS zone permits a lot size of 2,500 square feet,
So smaller. So you could subdivide
significantly
a lot.
smaller.
Okay. So it means you can get closer to the property limits.
Yes, the
less of a
setbacks can be 0.
Okay, so that answers your question about setbacks. About uses, your current use is included as a use, so it wouldn't affect that.
I can provide that in
you can provide that,
a
yeah.
nicer diagram than my highlighter.
And the assessment, and Brian, can you, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but assessment is based on the actual use of the property and the current condition of it, not on the potential use, correct? Okay, so you, it doesn't matter, as long as you still have the same office building, you're being taxed on that office building, not on what it could end up being. So that doesn't affect your property taxes. It's the value in a potential sale, not the value that we consider it from the town's perspective. And again, he was looking around, he was basically expanding the area he was looking at. In their appearance before the board, it was sort of like, this maybe not looking quite as logical, leaving off these parts at the bottom. Can you go to them and see if they want to be a part of it too? There seems to have been a series of miscommunications or lack thereof that perhaps would be resolved in the back between you guys talking about it one-on-one. Whether you want to continue to be included or you want to continue to include him at that point, but that's between you guys. And is there anything that I missed that was being asked about? I don't know that there's anything else.
Frank, I would just address, Mr. McLaughlin was indicating he objected, and asking about them reaching out. Obviously, it's good practice for them to reach out. They can seek the zone change, believe it or not, of your property, even though they don't own it. You, of course, have a right to object, which you have done. You may want to consult with an attorney about it if you want to, or speak to Mr. Phillips, however you want to address it to make sure that you're doing it properly. But I just wanted to address that about, that he's just randomly picking on, your property.
And that was at our suggestion, and the board looking at his initial application was why you got that letter, essentially.
Right, but as a property owner in the potential new zone, you have an absolute right to object, and, so that's kind of where we are procedurally, is that now we have an objecting neighbor. Obviously, if they want to reach out and...
So I'll leave the rest of any further follow-on questions, which I'm sure will be between the two of you, and then we'll go ahead and I think we can go ahead and move to continue the public hearing to June 18th. Is there a motion?
Move.
I don't think there's anything. Do you have anything to add on those subjects, Frank? Because I think that covered pretty much.
Yeah.
Anything else could be more of a personal conversation after.
All right, I'll make a motion to continue this hearing on June 18th at 8 o'clock.
Are we good on 8 o'clock? We don't have anything 18th. Yeah, okay, so 8 o'clock p.m. Is there a second? Councilman Troy, all in favor? Or 8:15. 8:15. All in favor? All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody.
Paul, please come back
Paul,
to
you can
the
come back in.
area. The tension is over.
Welcome. All right, so we all voted to reduce your salary.
Exactly.
Again? You were gone, yeah.
Thank you for clapping the erasers.
All right, so the next one should be brief. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing on the amendments to the film code?
Moved.
Councilman Divney, second by Councilman Troy. Again, for reference, what we're doing essentially is we're putting a definition of high-impact shoot as to what it is. We're taking all the exact fees out of the code and putting it into a set-by-town board resolution. And we're also changing it so that instead of sunset or a certain time when the after-hours filming rules kick in, it is just that certain time. Because in the winter, all of a sudden at 4 o'clock, you're paying overtime for some reason, which doesn't make sense. That's the summation of the changes, which is all in the packet. Are there any questions by the board or comments by the board or thoughts? Because I don't think we have anyone specifically on the issue of the film code. Anyone for comments? Mike, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Evening Supervisor Day, members of the board, Michael Mandel from Pearl River. Just a clarification on item 12. Under exception, it says student films. What's our definition of students? Is that high school students, college students, or high school students exempt from the total fees? It seems to include every type of student, so I was wondering that's my only question on it.
Thank you. So under the current code, Greg, you want to address that? I mean, let's see the filming guy.
Rob, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but in the actual code itself, it references film for public distribution, so high school students wouldn't fall into that. It's typically like college students who put them in film, film festivals or
festival.
competitions and stuff like that. That's where it falls into. A high school student also, like, there's 5 kids maybe doing it. Some of the college students have bigger, like, more, NYU Film School sends a lot of kids up with full crews and stuff like that.
Great. Great.
There were, I just noticed when we were looking at it in terms of when you set the fees, there's not a separate fee. It's in the law, and we don't have to necessarily do it tonight. I don't know if we discussed it, for special effects. We may want to add something in that. There was nothing in the schedule, so I don't know if you want to address it tonight, or we can do it
What's that?
separately.
Where is that?
Well, under, yeah, we added special effects under 14C4H, you know, because,
The helicopter landing was a specific one.
right, but car crashes, explosions, things of that nature.
And some of those things, the film shoots are so different, it would be hard to put a specific number in the actual code.
Well, we have a set,
I think there was a portion where it was like,
or if the applicant, if it improves filming, authorizes special effects, so we may have to address that. You know, if you didn't want to do it tonight, we are going to have something, or take it out of the law.
we can do is we can add like just categories to it, because we can come back and we'll do what we have right now, so we can
That's fine.
continue forward in the next meeting. Just categories like this type of special effect versus that type, and we only need like 2 categories.
Or for
We
some
already
of
have
the-
helicopter in there.
Okay.
So like, you know,
All right.
gunfires and explosions, this, or that level of sound. Gunfires, explosions, equivalent X fee.
Okay.
You know,
Yes, I don't know if we need to necessarily do that, because typically, I think it would be silly. It would make us less competitive.
We'll have to look at it, because
Okay.
there's certain things that we may have to, it does reference other special effects, and we don't want to actually accidentally end up it being 1,500 for something we don't want to charge 1,500 by code, because
Okay.
we can't just sort of pick it. We have to have a general category, so we'll
Okay.
fix it by the next meeting.
And just so we're clear, I know people are hearing us talk about crashes and explosions
Yeah.
and helicopter landings. They're only in
Yeah, this is a common thing.
Non-residential zones.
Yeah.
So if,
Non-residential zones usually in like some isolated park somewhere or something like that, but never have we had one yet. It's really more just in case. We've had inquiries
Forward-looking.
about it. Yeah. Okay. Any other people from the public to comment on the film code revisions? All right, any other thoughts from the town board on it before we close the public hearing?
Last night on the code,
Yes. The 2 showed, yeah.
they had Bronstall Park.
Yeah, they filmed the entire series in Orangetown, the code. It was,
Last night for the 10 seconds or 30 seconds, whatever it was.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And Billions filmed in Orangetown recently, the series. All right, is there a motion to close the public hearing? Councilman Valentine, second by Councilman Divney, all in favor? All right, is there a motion to set lead agency, SECRA? Is there declare type 2 action? Councilman Troy, second by Councilman Batari, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt the local law regarding commercial filming in the town of Orangetown? Councilman Troy, second by Councilman Valentine, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have a resolution to, well, technically, we'll vote on this with the code change, even though we'll have to go to public comment, because since it's related. Is there a motion to accept this fee schedule as number 12?
Moved.
Councilman Divney, second by Councilman Troy, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, going back now, since we finished our public hearings, we're going to go for public comment. We have 2 people signed in. Matthew Wargle of Pearl River, 3 minutes. Once you, and I usually try to summarize it, it's 3 minutes. It's not a back and forth discussion, so say what you have to say. We'll all respond to everyone in a group at the end, not right after you finish speaking. And when the buzzer goes off, if you could please just wrap up the sentence you find yourself in, and then go from there. That would be best. Matt?
Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Wargle. I'm the owner of Gentle Giant Brewing Company in Pearl River. I've been pushing for a couple years to get this farmers market going in town. I see how it actually helps benefit other communities in different areas, and it helps bring people into an area, particularly on a day that's not really too busy. So it gives really good exposure to all the local businesses, and for the most part, It'll allow some of the businesses who are established in the area to actually get more exposure to people who generally probably wouldn't come to the area unless you're specifically targeting, marketing those people. So I think it's going to be a good thing for everybody and a good thing for the town, and it'll help drive more tourism to the area. That's it.
Great.
All right,
Thank you. That's the wrong button. I see Salvatore Luciano. Is he still here? I saw him earlier. Sal, did you go out back? No? Okay.
All right.
Timed out on that one. Anyone else who is not signed in who's interested in public comment? Mike?
Mike, and Esther, you're next.
Should I speak? Good evening, Michael Mandel, resident of Pearl River, for the record. Just a couple of items. Item 27 with our Grand Fondo bike race. Are we still getting fees from them for the use of the police vehicles and traffic? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And just want to take this point in time to thank the Department of Parks and Recreation and the Highway Department for the phenomenal job they did in the Cherrybrook Park and Pearl River. What used to be an old, dilapidated skating ring where people fell and broke bones and whatever else, as well as a park house or a house over there that had bathrooms in that never worked, that were always destroyed. And the only thing it was good for was the overhang was for drinking and for smoking by our youth. The new park is all grass, trees have been planted. It makes a tremendous difference, and I just want to thank those two departments for all the work they did, Parks and the Highway Department and the board for approving it also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Esther Baylor.
Hi, my name is Esther Baylor, and I have a question for Dennis Troy. I'd like to know why Venture's taking away the Brega minibuses that pick up our people at state treatment who are not communicative and start with a new company from the Bronx called Clothes Coach. I did not approve of it, nor will I. I think it's unfair to take our drivers away from Brega and put another ludicrous company. We used to have a guy who cleaned the little Brega buses, and he's about to lose his job. That's not right. There is nothing wrong, there are no problems. Using the little Brega buses, I will not tolerate it. Our people can't talk. Our drivers help our consumers on and often they have matrons on the buses. I want to know why the board of directors want to do away with Brega. It makes no sense. They happen to do a great job, and I know the drivers. I think it's really unfair. And the other thing is, when are you people going to get that pool done? I've gotten complaints that the pool is awful. Those people want to be able to swim in their pool with help from the staff. It's not fair that you're going to shut down the whole day treatment and the pool. I really want answers. It's not right because I run that agency.
I will answer when you sit down.
Thank you, Esther.
Dennis, I'm old enough to be a daughter. Be respectful.
Hold on one second, Dennis. We'll see if anyone else is.
Yeah, don't do that.
Is there anyone else from the public? I don't see any from the public, but well, there's one back there. Is anyone else who wants to make any comment for public comment before we close this portion of the meeting?
Move to close.
Second by Councilman Batari. All in favor?
Aye.
So the motion was Divney. The only response we would have is Dennis. You want to say something about Venture?
All right. First of all, Esther is very passionate about her issues.
Can you
All right.
speak up? We can't hear.
Esther is very passionate about her issues. I will point out that the issues have nothing to do whatsoever with the town board or my position on the town board. It has to do with my position on the Venture Board. You know, I've been a volunteer on that board for 20 years. And some of these issues come up and some of them don't come up, but it's not really appropriate to talk about them here. I will say this, that about, in terms of the buses, it's appropriate, whether it's the town, Venture, or any other business, that every now and then you have to look at who you're using for whatever the service is, and then you go out and you bid, you have a bid process and you get somebody else, or you keep the same people. But you don't just keep the same people for 30 years, all right, because it could be conceived as being, you know, somewhat of a, I don't know, it's a, not on the up and up. It's a good process to look at other bidders. The other thing about the pool that's over there on Route 340 is a beautiful pool, or was a beautiful pool. The pool has had a lot of mold, there's issues with the pool. Esther, I'm a swimming person, and it's one of the great assets for the people of Venture, the people who are disabled, to use that pool. But you can't use it as it is now because of the health issues with it. And now is a decision needs to be made by Venture, and will be made within the next year, whether they will fix it or not fix it. And that's not me, and that's being done by the administration of Venture. They'll tell us about it on the board. So that's all I can tell you right now, Esther.
Esther, that's,
Esther.
Esther.
Esther, thanks.
Let the games begin.
Esther, thank you for your input tonight. Okay.
Moving on
I don't think there's really a lot.
to item number 13. This all should fly from here. We're just setting everyone on page 6 of your agendas. Do I have a motion to set the public hearing for the bicycling amendment to the town code? Councilman Valentine, second by Councilman Batari. All in favor?
I'm just going to add that resolve the town clerk is authorized to circulate the proposed local law to New York State DOT, Rockland County Highway, and Town Highway Department.
Okay, does
I'll
anyone
discuss that with you
motion, move that motion?
It just include that as part of the.
We'll add that to that
Yeah.
as another sentence, and we'll say it slower when we write it
Thank
down, right? Rosanna's sitting here with the pen like that was too fast. Okay. Next, motion to set the, did we take a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Resolution to set the public hearing for the town code change regarding delinquent taxes and permits and such like that.
Moved.
Councilman Divney, the motion, second by Councilman Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? We said all in favor. What am I doing here? Resolution to appoint Peggy, is that what she goes by, Kerwin, to fill the unexpired term of Roger Pellegrini for the Board of Assessment Review.
Moved.
Motion by Councilman Divney, second by Councilman Batari. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to appoint Beth Cahill as member of the Board of Ethics. Is a motion? Councilman Valentine, second by Councilman Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to establish a farmer's market and approve agreement with Elemental Events LLC. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Councilman Divney, second by Councilman Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve 2019 high school project graduation funding. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Councilman Divney, second by Councilman Batari. All in favor?
Aye. I would like to say on this thing, in terms of project graduation, if you, I don't know if everybody knows what it's about, but on the night of graduation, there's all sorts of events at each of these schools, Pearl River, Tappan Zee, Nanuet, Nyack, Albertus, that a lot of the parents, faculty participate in. It's a great night for seniors to participate, and it's a thing where I've participated in the past. As I'm aging out here, I haven't in the last few years, but you'd stay all night. And one of the things you see is seniors bonding with people. You have athletes bonding with people who are in the plays, or the musicians. It's people that they didn't even necessarily bond with over the 4 years that they were in high school. It's through the whole night. You just see the people getting together, sharing experiences over the 4 years. It's a beautiful night. And for me, it's a great, in great contrast to some seniors that I've seen or participated with when I was a young man, were hanging on a telephone pole, you know, at the 2 o'clock in the morning, sick. It's project graduation. I salute the schools in running these things because it's really wonderful, and I think it's great that we've participated in this in the 20 years that I've been on the board. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Dennis. All right, moving on to the next one, which is a resolution to appoint Christopher Goldrick to the firefighter in the Ballville Volunteer Fire Company. Motion by Councilman Valentine, second by Councilman Batari. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve settlement of claim for Marie Lucas for damage from town drain pipe. Is there a motion? Councilman Troy, second by Councilman Batari. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve certificates of sewer registration. Motion by Councilman
I'll make a motion.
Valentine, second by Councilman Batari. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve a settlement in the matter of, did I skip a page? Yes, I did not. Resolution to approve settlement in the claim of not an actual infant, but legally one. He was, I think, a teenager. So moved by Councilman Troy, second by Councilman
I'll second.
Valentine. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to accept the resignation of Police Officer Ryan Arend. Is there a motion? Councilman Batari, second by Councilman Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to declare surplus equipment, vehicle, and radar units by the PD. Is there a motion? Councilman Batari, second by Councilman Valentine. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve the local fire department's use of our message boards for recruitment and retention programs on Saturday, the 27th and 28th. Is there a motion? This happened already, so I hope it happens. Councilman Batari, second by Councilman Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve and adopt a spot agreement for 2 Sickletown Road. Is there a motion? Councilman Troy?
What's interesting about this motion is people, over a year ago, a car was out of control, crashed into their house,
Oh, that's the one, okay.
crashed into their house. The gas line exploded. They were lucky to get out of the house. It burned to the ground, it burned, serious fire, and now has been rebuilt. And I think it's amazing that they're also looking to adopt the spot, and that's Jimmy's program that he's had throughout the town. And I think that's great that the McMahon family is doing that, so I'm making that motion.
Very cool. Second by Councilman Valentine. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve Grand Fondo, and yes, again, for the record, they are reimbursing us for, as usual, for costs. Though they'll be less this year because they're not closing down that intersection anymore.
Just in relation to that, Eric, can we post the rail for trail? Because a lot of people walk it, and... Okay. All right, good.
So they will post it.
Okay.
Good call. That's why we keep you around here. All right, is there, yeah, I can imagine someone with a stroller walking down when that thing comes by. Jesus. All right, motion from Councilman Batari, second by Councilman Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve assistance for the American Cancer Society Relay for Life on Central Avenue Field on June 8th. Is there a motion? Councilman Batari, second by Councilman Valentine. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to award contract for asbestos abatement for the vacant properties on Chief Bill Harris Way. Is there a motion? Ooh, I'm sorry, we did. Troy. Valentine, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to grant permission for attending a wastewater training course for Vinnie Matthew. Is there a motion?
Wastewater 4, moved.
Councilman Divney, second by Councilman Batari. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to award bid for Environmental Construction, Inc. for sanitary sewer improvements in South Nyack. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Councilman Divney, second by Councilman Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
And on to the audit. Jeffrey. Thank you, sir.
Okay, the audit for tonight's meeting consists of 5 warrants for a total of $2.9 million. The first warrant had 1 voucher for $17,000 for the workers' comp chairman. The second warrant had 10 vouchers for $10,000 and was for support of the local VFWs and Memorial Day observances. The third warrant had 2 vouchers for $31,000 for golf cart leases. The fourth warrant had 1 voucher for $57,000 and was for the new air conditioner for Town Hall. The fifth warrant had 232 vouchers for $2.7 million. Items of interest, 1 and 2, the applied golf management contracts. Number 3, Arthur Gallagher, $1 million for insurance renewals.
Number 5, CSEA Employee Benefit Fund, $30,000 for CSEA dental benefits. Number 8, Fort Brand Services, $157,000 for highway equipment, that's bonded money. Number 12, Mazer Consulting, $20,000 for Route 303 culvert work, also bonded. Number 14, Navistar, $88,000 for highway truck, bonded money. And number 15, Department of Civil Service, $764,000 for CSEA healthcare. Number 17, Schultz Ford, $124,000 for highway equipment, also bonded. Number 18, the Comptroller, $49,000 for justice fines. Number 19, Tomco Construction, $88,000 for the Homes for Heroes project. And number 20, Virtuit Systems, $29,000 for central data programs. Any questions on the audit?
Questions?
No.
Okay, have a motion?
Moved.
Moved by Councilman Divany to accept the audit. Is there a second? Councilman Troy, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're getting to the point of adjournment. We have 3 folks, unless someone wants to add any, to adjourn in memory of. We will be entering executive session to discuss matters of real property sale and anything else.
Yeah, litigation matter regarding
pending
the matters
litigation.
matter.
So 3 folks are Carol McGrath, former president of the Pearl River Rotary Club and resident of Pearl River. George Hackett, veteran and member of the VFW Post 1650 in Blauvelt. And William Urban, who is the husband of Joe Urban, our recent former senior leader of the town Senior Citizen Advisory Committee. Joe Cable. Joe Cable from Blauvelt as well. Is there anyone else who wants to add another name or anyone thoughts or comments about the folks we have on for adjournment?
I'd like to say something about Carol.
Go ahead.
I knew Carol from being in the Rotary. She was president of the club. She was a 1980 graduate of Pearl River. And, you know, her and her husband Chuck were, you know, in town, and she ran a child daycare. The name escapes me now, but it was on Earhart Road in Pearl River for many years, so she taught a lot of the kids in town. And, you know, we mentioned Bronzoff Park earlier. Rotary every year plants flowers there, and Carol was there every year planting them, so when you're driving by it, I certainly remember Carol. So what a very nice person, wonderful person, great Rotarian. So
She was younger too, right?
Right, she was 57 years old, so.
Yeah, sad. All right, so I'm going to move that we enter executive session, discuss matters of real property sale and litigation, and immediately thereafter adjourn in memory of those 4 referenced folks who recently passed. Is there a second? Councilman Divany, all in favor? All right, thank you very much.